Let's learn how to repair a cracked bumper cover. Now, before we get into actually doing the repair on this bumper, you've got to ask yourself, does the cost of making this repair, is it practical? Is it going to be more than what the bumper cost? Before you get started, go check eBay or Amazon and see how much an aftermarket front bumper cover costs. And then we'll get into the tools and materials, because you got to look, if you don't have all the tools and the materials, or at least some of them on hand, then it's going to start costing you probably $200 just to get some of these tools and materials to make the repair. You can buy most aftermarket bumper covers, especially on older cars, for around $200. So think about that before we get started. Okay, you may have a bust like this on your front bumper cover or your back bumper cover. It's got a dent in it here, which we can use a heat gun and manipulate this. So to probably drill a little hole and pull this out and manipulate it. And here, I could probably heat it with a heat gun and push it in a little bit, and then we're going to have to use staples to restructure it. And then we're going to use the plastic welder stapler to put this together to strengthen it up. And then we'll use a plastic welder to weld all the cracks. And then we'll have to smooth it all out and then put body filler on it. And in a rigid spot like this, you can use regular body filler. They do make body filler for plastic bumper covers, which is usually better for like rounded corners or any place that might get pushed or hit. Flat, rigid areas, you can use body filler because it is plastic and it can flex just a little bit. So whatever you can make a hook, I just have these, but you can make a hook out of anything as long as it's full a little bit. So now we're gonna heat that up. Gotta give it a second before you pull it out. Now what you have is a porcupine. You can take a cutter and cut these off, but the thing of it is you're never going to get it right down flush with it, so you're going to have to grind it anyway. So you can take an electric or an air cut-off wheel or whatever you have and just you can see it's a little time consuming, and we just have to keep doing it until we get them all cut off, and then it'll be sand this down and get this leveled out. Got rid of all the little pins sticking out. Just run the top of the little cutting wheel off there. Just blackened it, but it's perfectly fine because we're going to be sanding it. Now, I've drilled a hole here and drilled a hole there to pull out these little dips that's in it. And the heat gun. And like a sculpture, it's in generally the shape you need it in. I think it's pooched out right here. It should take a lot of sanding, but what you can do is heat that up, push that in too. Without it flopping around. If you don't want it, just with your fingers, it'll blister it. Almost kind of welding now. It's not perfect, but like I said, once I get this, I'm going to use a DA sander to sand this down. For all the holes I drilled, what it is, I just took off some plastic welding rods and just shoving plastic in the hole a little bit. I just cut little slivers. Now I'm going to take the plastic welder and just kind of melt those over into the holes a little bit, fill them in. And then we're going to run along and kind of melt this together. I may have to use some welding rod a little bit here and there just to fill in, and then to be ready for sanding. The rest I'm going to have to hand sand, and then the little flaky stuff. That's a problem with working with plastics, is plastic flakes as you try to sand it and stuff, but that has got it somewhat leveled out. Okay, as you can see, I've just went ahead and I hit this with 80, then I went with just 180. I just jumped over to 180 and sand out the cracks that was in the paint. If you have any cracks, you want to sand those out. And I've smoothed it out pretty much as best I can. I'm now going to go with the 320 and go around the areas to expand out, so when I prime, the primer will stick. I'm not going to expand out too far because everything else on the bumper will get painted or get sanded with 400. If you've not watched my video on how to wet sand, be sure to watch it. See, and I've got this line here, so that means I can just sand up the line, and when I mask off, I won't come up to the line so much. That way the 320 will give the primer adhesion. Okay, everything's sanded and leveled as much as I'm going to be able to get it with that surface. Plastic bumpers are really hard to work. It's not going to be like you're going to sand down filler or ding out dents in metal or whatever. Plastic's kind of like a hard thing to work. So it's prepped. I've washed it down. It's going to have to dry tomorrow. I will put the plastic adhesion promoter on it, and then urethane prime it. And then once the urethane's dried and cured, then I will sand it with about 180 grit, and then I'll apply fiberglass. But when I say fiberglass, I'm going to use short hair strand fiberglass, and I'm going to put it in these heavier dented areas and these valleys. I'm not coating the whole thing. Fiberglass is pretty rigid. Body filler is flexible to some degree. I know a lot of you are going to say, no, you got to use body filler made for bumpers. These aren't rubber, these are plastic. They're also rigid. So think about this. It's like people always ask me, are you going to put the flex agent in the paint for the bumpers? Why? I mean, unless you're planning on using your car for a bumper buggy and pushing other cars around and stuff, or standing on the bumper, it's never going to get pushed and flexed. The sides are sometimes will move in the air because they're a little bit weaker on the side, but all this is rigid. Rigid is plastic. So if you push another car, it's going to crack the paint no matter what agent you put in it. Same with the fillers. Unless you just come in here and push it real hard, and plus you don't want to put the filler on. I mean, the fillers are going to be just skimmed to get rid of the waves as much as I can. This is not going to be a perfect job. It's going to have issues, but it will. All those cracks and stuff will be hidden when I'm done. It'll look pretty close. And just walking up, you'd never know it. So regular body fillers can be used. Like I said, I'm going to use short hair strand fiberglass just to fill in these ruts instead of using lots of body filler, because body filler is lighter weight and will crack if it's too thick. Fiberglass will give it a little bit of strength, and then like I said, put a little body filler on it, sand it when it looks about, probably coat it a couple of times. Then we'll put urethane primer on it. I'll put a glazing putty on it, sand it all up, probably prime it one more time, and then it'll be ready for paint. I also wanted to point out, if you did want to use a body filler made for bumpers, go ahead, but there's also the alternative. They make an epoxy mix. It's made for bumpers and stuff. It's a two-piece. 3M makes it, I think. There's several different companies make it. Evercoat. It's just two-part epoxy, and you can fill in these dents and work it. But it's rubber, so you're having to work with rubber, which is that's why I'm using body fillers. It's quicker and easier and cheaper. The other stuff is more expensive. Before you prime, use a little steel brush and get down in your cracks. And that gives you some basically sanding scratches in essence, so that your primers can stick to it, or or help stick to it. I mean, you're going to spray an adhesion promoter in here, but you still want a sanded surface to put it to. So any places you see dips that your sanding didn't get to, okay, before you put the adhesion promoter and then prime it, you're going to want to make sure this thing is degreased. Put some flaxen grease remover like Prep-Sol or synthetic enamel reducer is what I usually use for priming jobs like this. Make sure you get down in the cracks with it. If it's not wiping good enough, just pick it on and get it a little wetter. And we're not really going to go at it, you know, priming it like we're going to prime it for a finished end. We're just putting a layer of primer on it to help adhere the fillers we're going to put on top of it. Now this is made by Chromax or Axalta. I've been using it for years, but also have it for spray gun. But they make, the other companies make this. All it is basically a plastic adhesion promotion. And I'm almost out. And you're not looking to coat it real heavy, it's just a promoter. And then you got about maybe 5 or 10 minutes to spray your primer over top, which you already have to have your primer ready. If you use a spray can primer, a 2K, you have to use a 2K primer to put this over this. Regular lacquer primers will not work. It's got to be a 2K type primer. So I'll spray that next. Next I'm going to sand this. I'm mostly just going to sand it where I'm going to put the fiberglass. I'm not too worried about all the other stuff. The other stuff I put on there to fill in the cracks that were in the plastic. But it's got a crack here. I'm going to have to kind of sand that out. And mostly just here is where I'm going to run the fiberglass. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to wet sand it because it makes it quicker. And I'm using 180. But you're welcome to dry sand this. It depends on what the level of what your damage is. And what I'm trying to do here is kind of block sand it and get it ready for fiberglass at the same time. Okay, I dried it off with the air hose, and you can see where it's dark in these spots. That means these are lows, and just block sanding it straight. These are dips, which we were going to fiberglass these anyways. There's like I'm not going to worry about this. Body filler will get these like light dips. But here in this crack, it's kind of severe, so it needs to have something a little structural, something that'll fill it up faster than just lightweight body filler. And this section here is going to be completely reconstructed to make it look right. But not too bad. So I'm going to lay in just a little bit of fiberglass right in this little spot. I mean, just a skim, just to get this structure a little bit better. And then when I sand it, then it'll be ready for lightweight body filler. Then another prime, some probably glazing with it, and then hopefully we can paint it soon. Same as before, you just take your little wire brush. And you can take sandpaper if you want to do that, but if you want to get down in this crack, it's better just to take a little lightweight steel wire bristle brush. I'd go ahead and hit any dip that's surrounding your area, that way in case you get some glass in it, it'll adhere to it. So now I'm going to blow this off and then wipe it down again with some sort of wax and grease remover, just to kind of, from where I've touched it with my hands and stuff, to help prep adhesion. And even though this rag's got coloring on it, as if it's still clean rag, I mean, you don't want to pick up a rag that's got grease. You know, if you've done any kind of mechanic work or something really nasty, dirty, you don't want to pick up a rag that's got that on it, because even though the solvent removes grease and wax and stuff, it can only do so much. It can also help solidify it and transfer it. So just make sure you're using a clean rag. Oh, and by the way, if you're feeling like you don't want to get around something like this plastic, I've been doing this for years. So, I mean, but even still, I've made mistakes and got it on other things I didn't want to get it on. But just feel free to tape off anything you don't want to get this fiberglass on. It's always hard to have to rebuild an edge like that. Like I said, in most cases I would just say replace the bumper, because this is a little tedious. The reason why I say lightweight body filler is not the best for structuring is because it's lightweight for a reason. It's lightweight because you can put it on thick, but it shrinks. So if you put something like with glass in it, this has got fiberglass in it. This has got short strand fiberglass in it. So it's resin fiberglass. Once it cures, it's not going to shrink. Not very much. All body fillers shrink to some degree, but this won't shrink very much. So now when I go build my lightweight body filler over it, I don't have to worry about shrinkage as much. So we've got it structured. Now we got the cuts glassed in. It won't take very much to sand this. Then I'll go with lightweight body filler. Okay, I've sanded down the fiberglass that I put in there, which wasn't much, and now I'm ready to put the body filler on it. Where it was low, I just used the wire brush and went in there and scuffed it up inside the dips. That way it has scratches that adhere the body filler. Kind of like that. I'm not sure if I got that one or not, but it's just a little bitty dip in it. There's a dip right there. This dip's in there. It's not like you got to push down a barrier, you're just putting scratch marks with your wire brush in there. should have used a bigger spreader, but I've got to work that in there, so I need the small one, so I'll just have to use the little one to kind of... Kind of having to put it on a little thick in there to then shape it. When you're sanding a curve and stuff, you have to kind of ride every angle, every curve angle, you got to kind of follow it. Because it's got multitude of angles, cuts that you got to make to get it to feather edge out. It's not one just flat surface. Now I'm going to put some glazing on it. Glazing you just be this real thin like filler to get little pinholes and waves, and you can wet sand it off. It's good for scratches, you know, deeper scratches if you put any in there. Glazing is not for like if you're going to try to fill in a dent. It doesn't work that way. And you still want to put it on smooth as you can, that way it sands easier. It would look prettier if I had a bigger spreader than having to start trying to set up on it now. Now comes wet sanding the glaze. Okay, I've mainly sanded this with 180 on the glazing. Come off pretty easy, sanded down pretty quick and easy. Now I'm going to go over with 220. And then I'm going to prime that area again. Now I've blocked down the glazing putty, and what was left of the primer that expanded out, I'm going to go ahead and sand out your outer areas. Once this dries, I can mask it off and then re-prime it. Probably put about 2 coats of, depending on how it looks when I first put the first coat of primer, probably 2 or 3 coats of primer on it. And then the bumper gets blocked down by 400. Now when it's sanded and masked off, you wipe it down again with like a prep cleaner, a wax and grease remover, any place you touched it or whatever might have grease on it. So just even where you haven't sanded, wipe it down in case you get overspray on it. Now it's time for the final sand. I'm gonna knock the primer down just with one pass with 320. That kind of breaks off the hardened outer shell. You'll see when you start sanding. If you sand with 400, you'll wear a piece of 400 down before you actually start cutting it. So it doesn't hurt to hit it with a little 320 and then start on everything with 400. You can still slightly see the primer through it, which means the next coat will cover it, but then you want to cover it again just to ensure that it is covered. And just so you know, if you're covering primer and you see a difference and stuff, putting it on heavy, trying to cover it all in one swoop won't work. You're going to have to let it build in coats and let it dry in between so that the pigment will build. Otherwise it'll just run off, sag, or not cover, or just it'll wrinkle. So the best thing to do is just to put mild to medium wet coats on it and then let it dry 5 to 10, depending on what the paint is. Normally it's better to wait about 10 to 15 minutes in between flashes. But the sun's going down again on the next project I'm doing, so I'm going to have to hurry up and do it. So at least I'm giving it 5. This one I'll give 10 since I've already just put another coat on it. Because the first coat I put on real light. So this one is a medium wet coat. I'll give it 10-minute flash and then I'll spray again.
If you notice when I'm painting, I'm not painting the entire bumper. What I am doing is I'm fanning the paint out, kind of down the sides and across the top of the bumper. And this is called blending the color. I'm not blending the clear, I'm just blending the color. And then when I get done, I'll clear over the entire thing. But you'll notice how I'm fanning the paint out, and that's blending it.
As you see, that damage to the bumper is now fixed and looks fine. All done in the driveway and not that expensive to do. Just a little bit of elbow grease, but other than that, I mean, it's not that hard, depending on what's busted on yours and how bad it's busted. I will say if it's busted from top to bottom, or where it wouldn't be worth trying to glue that together, but a hole or a pushed in spot, something like that, that's worth fixing on a bumper cover. But that's how you do a repair on a bumper cover. And smashed or poked or gouged or whatever. Pretty simple.
Now these are going to be the tools and materials you may need for this kind of job. You may not actually always need these type of tools. Like you may not need a plastic welder, you may not need fiberglass, you may have a mild damage, but this will be the list of tools I think you might need if you have this kind of severe damage like it's in this video. You may be able to get away with just hand sanding with regular hand sandpaper and stuff, but if the damage is real severe like in the one in this video, you may find it easier to use a DA sander or any type of sander if you have electric or pneumatic, but a sander would be handy. They make various type of plastic welders. Some of them have tips that you can change out to do both, but in this case what I had here is one that's designed to put in the clips. They weld in little clips into the plastic to actually bond it together, and then you have the other one that looks like a soldering iron that actually does the welding. You get welding sticks with it and stuff like that, so you can weld the plastic back together. The rest of these tools will be explained as we go through the video. I'm not going to explain each and every one of them, although I will explain when we get down to the fillers. In this video I used fiberglass instead of using a flexible body filler, mostly because in the places this crack was at, if it gets flexed again, it's going to crack the bumper anyhow. So fiberglass and lightweight body fillers, as long as they're thin, will work. But if you feel better about using flexible body fillers, they do make those. So tell me your thoughts on this. Do you think that all this work and this effort is worth making a repair on a bumper that you could probably buy for $200 or $300? Most vehicles up to about 2017, 2018 you can get for at least around $200 or $300 for an aftermarket. All you have to do is scuffy, put a mid-coat adhesion on it, and spray it. Whereas you can see here, this was hours of work, and if you don't have the tools and materials, you're going to spend what you would spend in buying a bumper cover. The only advantage is you don't have to try to figure out how to get the bumper cover off. So be sure to leave me a comment and let me know what your thoughts are. And if you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and always check back because I'm always working on something crazy. See you in the next one.